Hello and welcome to the Thrive preview courses. And this is topic 3 of the preview sessions, where we're going to talk about what is psychological growth. By the way, the background is real. The books behind me are very real. And yes, I've read most of them. Part of what Thrive is all about is condensing as much information as possible from the knowledge and wisdom of the world into bite-sized chunks of courses that you can easily get a lot from in a short period of time. So today, let's talk about what psychological growth is, a major component to what the Thrive courses are all about. So let's take a look at some of the slides I've got for you today. I'll just press play, and there we have it. So what is psychological growth? To me, it's one of the most important aspects of a good life. Let me talk a little bit first about my country, Australia, and ask you the question of, do you think you're healthy? And if I ask it a slightly different way, what is your psychological health like right now? I might get a different answer. Some of the stats that I've had a look at recently, Australia is one of the most livable countries in the world, except for work-life balance. We don't tend to be very good at that at all. A couple of years ago, 2017, Australians had more than 101 million days of unused annual leave, which just keeps accumulating. So it's even more today. What does that say about ourselves and our health? More than half of our meals are eaten on the run. The average number of devices used per household is 6, over 6. Australians owe over $400 million on their credit cards. That's a lot of money. And almost half of us will have a mental disorder in our lifetime. Now, I've put those particular stats together for a reason. I think there is a strong correlation between the way we live and our mental health. So psychological growth is all about living better and being more mentally fit and healthy. Think about how you measure your own happiness. Often I hear people say things like, I'll feel good enough when, or I'll feel satisfied when, or I'll feel worthy when I achieve something. I'll be happy when this happens. I'll be happy when I get my inheritance, or I'll be happy when I finish my degree, or I'll be happy when I get married, or I'll be happy when we have the third child, whatever it might be. Could be I'll be happy when I get to travel around the world. All of those things to me seem like we're delaying happiness until something else happens in our lives, which is what a lot of people do, but I don't think is that healthy. Particularly because reaching big goals often takes more time than we think. And I'll counter that version of happiness by saying, aren't we already enough with where we're at now? Particularly if you're someone who does their best with what they've got, isn't it possible to be happy with that today? If you're not someone who makes the most of and does their best with what they've got, well, then your unhappiness is all your responsibility. But the best answer to when you will be happy is, well, I could be happy with me now. If I'm making the most of what I have, then aren't I happy with that? But that requires some psychological strength. In other words, if we have that scarcity mindset of I'll only be happy when I gain this or have that, if you multiply what you're doing to yourself there, then you know that in the future you can predict you'll be just as unhappy. So if you can predict what sort of pain you're putting yourself through now, and you will be in the future as well with the mindset you're in, surely that gives us a motivation to change the way we look at things. What stops you from doing what you know is good for you? So if you're one of those people who don't do what's good for you, because good advice is everywhere. So why are we so stubborn in not implementing it for our own lives? We all tend to make excuses for why we don't change or improve something. And we sometimes just don't prioritize our health and well-being, including our psychological health. But there's a consequence for that, and the consequences are quite negative. So if this is you, if this looks like you at work or in your home office, life can be pretty difficult for you. You're in survival mode, highly stressed most of the time. Psychological skills, improving them, makes life a lot more bearable and rewarding. It improves your habits, particularly habits such as not taking on too much, being realistic about how long tasks do take, being realistic about what your strengths and weaknesses are, learning how to delegate, etc. So it reminds me of the famous Einstein quote, you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that creates it. There's another similar quote that what we practice, we become. So if we keep practicing bad habits, the negative consequences keep accumulating. Think about it this way. There are a number of assets we have in our life, and it's a bit like 4 different barrels. So consider the economic, human, social, and psychological as 4 different barrels you have, which you attempt to fill during your life. We all want more money and assets. That's the economic. We want to get educated and gain skills and experience in our jobs. That's the human. We all want somewhere to belong, have relationships and a network of contacts. That's the social. And the 4th barrel is the one we tend to neglect the most and not see its value enough. And that's all the psychological skills, including self-awareness, including behavioral habits, including decision-making skills, including self-respect and self-worth. There's a whole bunch of psychological skills that the Thrive courses are all focusing on, because I strongly believe that we don't spend enough time on the psychological, because we're spending so much on particularly the economic and the human. Getting the balance right in these 4, I think, is part of the challenge, particularly when our society values the economic over the psychological. Yet we know through experience and through witnessing other people and how they run their lives that money isn't everything, and that money doesn't necessarily buy you happiness. Yet we spend so much time and effort making it and managing it. I think if we spend a little more time on the psychological, we actually get more benefit out of life. Have a think of it this way. In terms of your psychological strength, how often do you let yourself down? If the answer is quite a lot, then that is a sign of low psychological strength, psychological weakness, if you like. And it tells us that there are skills you need to learn to not just like yourself more and get along with yourself better, but in order to make the most out of life and the most out of your skills and abilities, we need to attend to our psychological fitness so that our lives can become better. And that's, again, what the Thrive courses are all about, helping you learn these skills. So psychology skills training involves, my concept of psychological skills is 5 categories: self-awareness and insight, emotional skills, including emotional awareness, emotional management, mental skills, behavioral skills, and social skills. All of these 5 combined make up psychological strength. And it's all of these types of skills that you can use every day to your advantage. In fact, this is exactly what a competitive advantage in the workplace looks like: a strong psychology skills. And it is also what an advantage is like in our personal lives. These skills help us in relationships. They help us create good relationships and maintain good relationships, healthy, constructive ones where we grow together. A bit more detail about the 5 different categories. So self-awareness or insight, the first category, is being aware of what drives you, such as what your values are, what goals you've set, being aware of your strengths and weaknesses, and being able to reflect on self in a way that's not too damaging. You reflect on what you could learn from situations rather than get stuck in blaming self or others for whatever has gone on. That's a skill in itself. The mental is all the things that happened in your mind that either help you achieve or sabotage your achievement. So whatever habits of thinking you have, whatever expectations you set for yourself, those are the examples of mental strength. Behavioral is the things that we do and can see. So how we manage our time, how organized we are, how efficient we are, how effective we are at getting things done. The emotional is knowing how we feel, managing those feelings, turning those feelings into positive motivation and actions. That's strong emotional strength. And the interpersonal is how we impact on other people, how cooperative we are, for instance, how friendly we are, how open we are or not with revealing ourselves, how well we listen, how well we build rapport with people, how well we collaborate with them. There's a whole bunch of skills here in this category that also matter to health, happiness, and success. So that's what Thrive's all about. Teaching you these skills, how to improve them, but in an entertaining way and in a way that helps you implement some of our ideas pretty much straight away. To me, this is the stuff that we should have learnt at school, but tend not to. So in terms of the 5 different categories, often people are strong in 1 or 2 areas, but not in the others. And particularly if we go back to the 4 barrels example, often in terms of our overall health and well-being, we tend to be, a lot of people I see tend to be physically strong and they go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, for instance, but can often be emotionally and mentally weak because they literally put all their eggs in one basket. In terms of if I'm physically strong and fit and I like the way I look, then I'll be happy. But that's not how it works. In fact, your emotional well-being and your mental plays far more a part in your happiness than actually the way you look. So what does working on your psychology do for you? Well, it creates self-acceptance and self-respect. It improves your discipline. It improves your resilience and coping skills. It gives you purpose. It organizes your life better. There's so many things you can gain from investing in your psychological well-being. So a person high in psychology strength actually makes everything look easier, because what's internal is working so well for them, and this is what drives their behavior. They are more efficient and effective at everything they do, because of the right thinking that guides their actions. And you might know someone like this, where you think, well, how does it always work out for them? Well, they've got a mind that's programmed really well, and that's what runs the show. So think of your relationship with yourself, for instance, the mental part of that. Unhealthy mental habits include thoughts and beliefs like I'm not good enough. Lots of people have I'm not good enough as a story in their head that runs around and round and round, obviously sabotaging their lives. And alongside that is thoughts like I don't deserve happiness, for instance, or I don't deserve to be helped, or I won't cope with something, therefore I won't even try, or it's all too hard, so I'll give up on myself, or I'm so hopeless, I'm so helpless, self-blame. So a lot of this unhealthy self-talk and relationship with self is learnt and can be unlearnt. It's a story that does not serve us well. And part of learning psychology skills is to shift and change that story into something that's far more constructive, including examples like I am enough, I do deserve, I have what it takes, I won't give up on myself, I am capable. And these aren't just words. Their psychological strength helps you actually believe that story, that positive version of self. And as you believe that more and more, that's what drives your behavior. That's what creates achievement. Most of us, unfortunately, without realizing it, are trying to make the future match our past experiences. We actually, without realizing, drag our past along with us, particularly because we haven't let it go or processed it properly. And whenever we are encountered with new information that doesn't fit our old story, we tend to dismiss it. So if I'm full of I'm not good enough and something good happens to me and I get positive feedback from someone, I actually dismiss it and don't let it sink in. That's what I mean by the need to reprogram ourselves is part of improving our psychology. So in summary, psychological health is all about feeling useful, engaged, purposeful, energized, capable, supported, able to adapt, open to learning. And with that type of mind and that type of psychology, there's so much you can achieve and so much you can make the most out of in life. Life becomes not just easier, but more interesting, more exciting, more fun. And you create so many more opportunities for yourself with this type of psychology. So that gives you another taste of what Thrive is all about. The courses we have available are both on personal development as well as professional development. Each topic within the courses is a 30-minute video with a workbook to help you reflect on the topic and to help you work through your insights. And often the workbooks have questions to get you thinking about how to implement the particular topic in your life. Alongside that, we have group coaching where we get to discuss with each other the topic in question, and I give you direct feedback as well. So Thrive Learning is really a community of people who are all committed to their own development. So I hope to see you again soon, and I hope you got something out of this video. Bye for now.